really am curious about is the difficulty of like VTuber cooking in particular, right? Like what are some of the, because maybe there's someone listening to this who would love to do something like that, maybe a VTuber in real life, or maybe VTuber wood shop. I don't know what it might be, right? Like what are the difficulties of kind of doing that day in and day out? Because if I'm not mistaken, you stream probably 4 or 5 days a week, or if not more, right?
I feel like the hardest part of VTubing cooking specifically is the tech behind it. It's not the ingredients, it's not getting your recipe together or whatever, talking with chat. That all comes naturally or with practice, like Emily said. But the tech part is actually quite tricky. Like I said, it was actually Onibro, the one that was able to kind of get the tech together for me. I'm very, very boomer brain, very not savvy with tech. Okay, I literally computer PC on. I expect everything to work. The moment it doesn't work, I start whining. So that's very much my personality and mentality. So I'm very lucky that I do have a helper there with me. But it does require quite a few things to kind of make it work and make the layering and the illusion kind of make sense. So I would say if you have the monetary means, then that would be the first hurdle. Obviously, you can maybe just get a webcam instead of a big old fancy DSLR and just turn all your lights on in your room instead of getting studio lights. But the more investment you make, the better outcome will show on the actual stream, because there are very small details that it's very, very easy to overlook until you try it for yourself, or to try to do the setup yourself. And then also, like, how are you supposed to plug everything into your computer? Are you monitoring on a laptop? Are you doing this, doing that? How big is your space, and things like that? Are you doing it from your actual kitchen? Are you doing it from like a setup, like kind of like mine, where it's more of a specific cooking set for stream? It's not my IRL kitchen. There's a lot of things a lot of factors that you think about that people might not realize until they try it for themselves. So I think the biggest hurdle is the tech and not so much the actual cooking aspect of
Interesting.
The stream.
Because
that makes
I
a lot
know,
of sense.
Yeah, and Emily, you probably know this too, but like from a YouTube like thought process, I always tell people, I'm like, if you want to start doing YouTube, grab your cell phone, because you probably have like an iPhone 13 or something, and it probably records killer video. Get like $100 mic, and you can go to town and make great content. Whereas on this side of it, it's like you said, you can start small, but the changes can be huge as you like start to I guess up your game a little bit. And I have looked into it because I was like, I would love to start doing like a VTuber Beat Saber channel. Right?
Oh yeah.
I love Beat Saber, right? But I was like, it'd be dope to do that. And just a rig like with like the avatar could be thousands of dollars, and that's you're talking about an investment that might not give you any money back, right? So when you started, did you decide you're like, no, I have to have a full, I guess, rigged model? Is that something that came to mind when you wanted to start?
I've always wanted a full rigged model. That was always the goal when I first started, but I did not have one in the very beginning because I'm quite prudent with money, so I'm just like I will. Let's see if I like it first. And this is a lot of questions I get from my chat as well. Like, oh, what's your advice on just starting to stream as a VTuber? I'm just like, just stream. Don't even stream as a VTuber. Stream with no cam if you're uncomfortable with showing your face, Just see if you like it first. So for me, I did a PNG. So I got a $20 commission. I had a vague idea of what I wanted my potential OC to look like. And then I asked an artist for $20, draw me a cute little chibi. And I connected it to my Discord. So you have the Discord reactive thing. It lights up when you speak and it dims down when you don't speak. And I just streamed. I didn't stream cooking back in the day. It was just all gaming, just to practice talking to nobody, basically. And then that turned out to do okay. And I'm like, okay. So I got a little bit of a sub money in my Twitch payout now. Okay. So then I went to find like a reasonably priced like rigger and artist to do my V1 is what it's called, the version 1 of my model. And then it kind of just snowballed from there. So the goal was always to have a model, of course, because I feel like for the most part, I don't know if it's technically you're not a VTuber if you don't have a model. I mean, nowadays PNG, 3D avatars, whatever, we all count as VTubers. But yeah, my end goal was always to have a model, but you don't have to have one on day one. Not necessary
so
whatsoever.
it was more of a creative choice for you at that point.
Yeah,
gotcha.
I think that's a great advice for anyone in any kind of field. And this is like advice that I got early on. Like, if you can't put in the time to just show up and do the work every day without all of the accessories and stuff, having those things is not going to make a difference for you. You have to really enjoy what you're doing and like it. So yeah, I think I would say the same thing to anyone else. Like, try it for a week before you start buying anything, because you'll figure out pretty quickly if you really want to put your time and effort into it.
Yeah, I think you kind of spoke on this too, Giri, is like you don't necessarily need all of the tech to get started, but I think with tech, it becomes more of a creative choice, right? Like, I use 3 cameras to film cooking content. Do you need 3 cameras? No. But like creatively, I like the way certain shots look, and I like that I can do different fun things with it. And I guess it's kind of the same way where when you mentioned that you have your cooking setup for your stream is not your IRL kitchen, whereas like my setup is just my home kitchen. But it makes sense to me, because it's like, how do you set up, the lighting where you need it? How do you set up maybe like your I don't even know what to call it, like your magic, VTuber avatar, like how do you right? Yeah. How do you set that up in an IRL setting that doesn't feel like it gets in the way? That's kind of where it I think some of the investment would eventually come in, but I think that what's interesting is that anyone can VTube, right? Or technically you can get a PNG, like you said, made, and anyone can go to town and play some Rocket League or something like that. And they never have to do a face reveal. I mean, even if we look at in the YouTube space, you look at Dream, who has a Minecraft channel, he has like 30 million subscribers or something like that. He's one of the most popular channels to ever exist, and he's never shown his face, right? Like this is now like a real, this is a reality we live in. And I think it's really awesome, because your stream may not have existed had it not been for this tech. And I think that's a really cool thing to see.
Yeah. With all of that said, I just have a question. I have a question for everybody, but I think Giri first, maybe. Okay, so cooking on stream with a VTubing model is difficult, poses its own challenges. But what is your favorite thing to make on stream? And or what is the hardest thing you've had to make because of the setup, maybe like getting in the way or interfering with what you're trying to do?
My favorite thing, I actually don't really have like a favorite, because every single stream I make something different. I have never made any repeats so far since streaming for a year. Yeah. I think every single stream I've made something unique, whether with a guest or by myself. But I'm pretty flexible, because my hobby is desserts, but for the most part when I stream savory.
Like,
Yeah.
Oh, you like desserts.
I love baking.
I have a cookbook coming out, an anime desserts cookbook. It should be out in a month and a half. So
exciting. Congrats. Oh, congrats.
Yeah. Thank you. No, thank you. Oh my God. I'm excited to share it with everyone. But yeah. Okay. Desserts. What are your favorite desserts to make?
I like to make chiffon cakes and like madeleines, or like shotokeki, like in Japanese, like the ichigo shotokeki. That's like my number one favorite cake that I like to make for like friends and family, and it's impressive looking, but it's not very hard, not very technically difficult. But I prefer, like, because I'm Asian, I prefer the quote-unquote not so sweet dessert, So for shortcakes, madeleines, a lot of these like tiramisu or like pudding and stuff, you can kind of adjust the sugar and whatever. But I don't actually make desserts too much on stream, just because I think to please the general crowd, people tend to gravitate more towards savory than sweet. People have like, oh, I love a pot roast. It reminds me of a weekend, but no one's gonna be like, oh, I love a shortcake. It reminds me of what? I don't know. Kind of thing.
Except for me, I love desserts, and it's so funny that you say that, because in the cookbook coming out, I have a whole like a little essay at the front where I talk about strawberry shortcake and how that like influenced me towards desserts and anime. But also I feel like just from a technical perspective, baking is harder to do on a
Yes.
stream,
Mm-hmm.
right?
There's a lot of waiting, a lot of mixing.
yeah.
I wonder like if you could do this is just like a thought, right? Because you do like doing desserts. Can't you do like Food Network style where like when we
TV
put it in
magic?
the oven and then you just
have.
pull out
I have
like
done
right.
that.
Okay.
I have.
Because I like as a are you YouTuber, right? Like as a YouTuber, I have the luxury of like popping something in the oven and turning off the camera and then going upstairs and like editing footage that I need. Whereas on stream, you can't just be like, all right, guys, I'll be back in an hour. Like you
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
can't do that, right?
Yeah. No,
Have you tried to like
I've-
think of doing stuff like that?
I have definitely, because see, that is the one reason why I don't do baking too often. Because last Halloween, I did a cake from scratch. So decorating, I was doing.
okay.
Before streaming, like I had a passion for cake decorating, where those like piping flowers. Like the bean
Yes.
paste flowers that was trending in
Oh, you're
Korea
going
for a long
in.
time. I got really
Why
good
are
at
we
that.
the same person? Oh my god, dude, same.
I got really good at it, and then I used to make like birthday cakes for all my friends and family. So that streaming, I was like, maybe I can show off that kind of talent, maybe. So for Halloween, I did like I used marshmallow to make spider webs. I used chocolate to make. I draw like spiders and stuff, and then I have like little roses to make it kind of like gothic and whatever, like purple and black roses. And I pre-made the cake the night before. I had it resting in my fridge, so it was ready to go. But I still made the cake on the day of as well, so people know the process. But I just feel like it's not too worth. It's the hard work is not super worth it, just because again, people aren't super into the dessert stuff
Right.
in general. So they're just like,
Yeah.
oh, cool, you produced a cake. Oh, look, there goes some flowers, So
Right.
it's like,
And,
I'm like,
and
ah.
I think I can kind of relate to that because what it really comes down to is like if people are watching like a stream, they're usually just trying to be entertained, right? So maybe when you're doing something savory, it's not as labor intensive, so you can pay attention to chat more. But also, as a viewer, if you make like a stir fry or something like that, I can be like, okay, cool, maybe I can make that.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're decorating
Yeah.
a cake, you're like, do I really want to go
It's
through
so
the process?
skill
of-
oriented. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
hard. It's harder to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I've personally seen is the higher the skill level of either the thing you're making on stream or like for a video, the less it seems like there's engagement from the community because they enjoy watching you do the thing, but they're not going to go and do that thing.
Right.
And it kind of translates that way. So it's an interesting take to say that like you very much love dessert, but you don't want to do them on stream. But I totally get it. Like that makes perfect sense, right?
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
that standpoint.
The exception is Valentine's Day, I guess. It's like, oh, I'm gonna make chocolate for Chad, and then they're actually excited because it's on theme, it's on brand,
It's for-
That's
but
true,
Even
that's true.
that is like you're just typically like melting chocolate and like putting it in a mold, and then so it's there's like a sense of movement to it that doesn't always exist with baking. Like cooking, there is like a process, everyone can see where you're going. Baking and decorating is just it's like very artistic in a way, and so sometimes it's like hard watching people be like painters paint or whatever. You're just like, okay.
Yeah,
boring.
like you're watching a Bob Ross stream so you could fall asleep properly, like just chilling out.
Yeah.
I think
It's so true.
I think it's the same with baking. Like my mother-in-law, she's a professional cake artist. Like she's been teaching cake decorating for like 25 years. She literally travels around the world and teaches cake decorating.
Wow.
Come to teach me.
Yeah,
Right, like-
does she want to come to Canada?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
she was actually, she was just in like Vegas teaching at like an international cake show and doing all this stuff. Like,
wow.
That's
Yeah,
that's like so legit. That's so
so
cool.
cool.
Like maybe I could get her to be like, hey, you want to come to Japan for a couple of days
Your
when I come out in
mother-in-law's
March?
cooler than you.
Come
What are you doing here,
Yeah.
Paul? Get her on the
How does
show.
that
I don't want to
feel?
talk to you
Yeah.
no more.
Please,
Get the lady on the show.
Yeah. She like they just won like I think it was last year in Milan, Italy. They won like best cake in the world or something like that. It's
wow.
crazy. But like
Wow.
yeah, like I see the effort that goes into that, and I'm like, no. There's no way. There's no way I'm doing that.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of respect for like the choice to not do stuff like that on stream, but also that it's more of a hobby for you. Like maybe it's like where you turn everything off and you're like,
Yep.
this is for me, and I'm just
Yeah.
gonna bake cookies or make, like you said, madeleines, or just make some damn pudding, and just enjoy it for yourself. So that's really cool.